Staying in Iowa, although unrelated to the political landscape, we are awaiting a news conference in Davenport on the catastrophic building collapse. 5 people remain unaccounted for. 2 are believed to be located somewhere within the rubble, but the Iowa building collapse giving Americans eerie flashbacks to what happened in Florida just 2 years ago.
Yeah, still don't know what happened again there in Davenport, how this happened, but at 1:22 in the morning in Surfside, Florida, a 12-story beachfront condo came crashing down. As you remember, 98 were killed, and many left wondering how a building in the United States in this day and age could just collapse while people were sleeping in the middle of the night. Charles Burkett was the mayor of Surfside at the time and joins us now. Good to see you, sir. Thanks so much for coming back on here. I know it's hard to relive that moment and to see that video once again. And then you see something like what we've seen in Davenport. Still several questions remain. What was your initial reaction when you saw that building collapse in Davenport, and obviously officials reacting? There was this back and forth of we need to demolish the building immediately. They pulled that back. The emotion that surrounds it. Talk to us about that.
Well, we spent a lot of time dealing with that issue. And one of the things that occurred to me the minute that happened, I sort of went back and forth with my city manager about it. He sent me a tip that the building had come down. And, you know, we want to know why that building fell down. That obviously there's some steel in that building. It's a steel structured building, but it is built in 1909. Our building was built in 1980. So it's a significant difference. But suffice to say, we don't think the building just fell down either. There was a reason it fell down. There was a trigger. There was nothing going on underneath the building. The substructure was fine. The supports were all fine. The problem is we were blocked from ever doing an investigation on that property. We hired the most preeminent structural engineer on the planet to come in, and we were blocked at every turn. There's something very fishy about finding out why our building fell down, although I'm very hopeful that they will get to the bottom of this building, and I think they will. I think the age has some relationship to why it fell down, and I also think, you know, obviously there was work going on there, and if you pull out the wrong piece and you weaken the structure, you're going to have a portion of it fall down. So I'm eager to find out, you know, what that problem was. Someone said there may have been an explosion there because there were some gas lines that were leaking, but I'm looking forward to finding out why that building fell down. I wish we could do the same for ours.
Yeah, of course. When you don't have an answer to why your loved one no longer is with you, at least in the case of Surfside, again, no deaths reported in the Iowa collapse, but you're left wondering without answers, and that just must be just devastating to go through. Mayor, also wanted to get to what the local officials are saying in regards to the Davenport collapse. Again, they had planned to demolish the rest of the building. There were some safety concerns about that. But then we learned that there was a woman who had been found alive, again, partially trapped under the rubble. So that paused the plans to demolish. Here's what the fire marshal had to say.
So understand, it's not that we don't want to do this. It's the fact that we have to do it in a safe manner. And at this point, we're going to reevaluate how safe we can be in order to get in there and not currently make the situation any worse.
Does that give you also some flashbacks, again, when you're talking about the timeline of how to go and approach recovery and demolition in this case?
Precisely. First, I had 2 rules while we were doing this recovery. It was, number 1, get everybody out that we could, and number 2, support the families that are suffering through the whole process. It was really simple. I think that they're taking the right steps. I think that, you know, demolishing the rest of the building is probably not necessary, especially given the fact that only a portion of it fell down. Hopefully it's the portion that they were working on, so they've got clues as to why it fell down already. But listen, you've got to get everybody out of there that you can get. You've got to figure out who's in there. We had our rescue teams in there. We had teams from Israel. I hope they're taking advantage of the same professional sort of ability of these rescue teams. And I hope they've reached out to get the people that they need on site as quickly as possible. I know that those rescue teams fly around the world and they stand by for things like this to happen. So, you know, I'm hopeful that they're accessing all the resources they can. But the bottom line is you've got to get the people out that are alive. I think that, you know, looking at the rest of the property, we brought it down. The only reason we brought it down was because I told the governor that, I was concerned that given there was a hurricane bearing down on us, that if that building had blown down in the wrong direction, it would have put the kibosh on any rescue attempts we were trying to undertake. So we had, exceptional circumstances with respect to having to bring down the rest of the building. But I don't know that they have the same urgency with respect to their building. So if it can be determined that the rest of the building was not being worked on and there are no sort of indications that anything else is awry, I think that they probably ought to focus on getting everybody out that they can, supporting the families, and then figuring out why that building fell down, because that's one thing that we were never allowed to do. And I think that they owe it to the people that are in that building and the residents of that community to really get the answers.
All right. Former Mayor of Surfside, Florida, Charles Burkett, joining us live. We appreciate that. Charles, good to see you.
My pleasure.